Hello. Hi, guys. I recently, which I'm always doing, is I gave, an internet version of the myers-briggs test to several people, and a lot of people have been using the one. Let's see what this website is. I think it's the 16 personalities one, and a lot of times people come up with their type and then they get an A or a T afterwards. Meaning assertive versus turbulent. Um, I've got to do some research into this sort of addendum and like this addition because, as you know, everyone has their own interpretation of the Myers-Briggs, and everyone has kind of any sort of like a social philosopher or social scientist or just casual armchair psychologist, as well as people that have, gotten grants from universities to do studies, has added on to Carl Jung's original theories evolving around introversion and extroversion and all that stuff, right? So I look at this as more of like an add-on that can help share some insight into your type in terms of the way you view yourself. And this is 100% interpretive. So, like, I've done some reading on the 16 personalities, but I haven't done a lot of outside reading. But what I've come to conclude, unfortunately, I'm starting to think that when, in terms of assertive versus turbulent, which of course doesn't mean, uh, you know, Webster dictionary, what you think of as acerbic or turbulent, because I think that a lot of turbulent types are actually very assertive. Um, but yeah, I tend to see that when it comes to come on, buddy, the cat's being a mess as usual. Um, they describe assertive individuals as like the A tag that goes on the end as being like self-assured and even-tempered and resistant to stress, whereas the turbulent personalities are more self-conscious and sensitive to stress, but are a lot more success-driven and ambitious than the assertive individuals. Um, and I think that kind of pairs down as like a nice way of saying more confident or self-assured versus less confident and less self-assured. Um, because that's basically the way I see it. It's like when as soon as I typed as an INTJ-T, as in having a turbulent self-identity. So I'm like, oh yeah, because I am self-conscious and perfectionistic and all over the place and just a self-described like hot mess or whatever. Um, and there are both positives and negatives to both types. So don't think automatically that if you type as a T or turbulent that it's like, oh, your life is over or something. Um, because turbulent people, perform better under stress. And they do push themselves to get better results. However, they also can be paralyzed by stress and indecision, which I definitely suffer from. So I want to go over a couple of things because I know I am, the stereotypical type A personality, and I've definitely like had a gifted kid burnout as I've gotten into my late 20s because it was so much stress in school. I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s where it was like so many regions, so many like so much homework they gave to like us in second grade. We had all this shit going on, I don't know if it's better or worse now, but I do remember midterms and like pre-K, and it's just a mess. So it was just so much pressure, and I felt like a lot of the pressure kind of was around my studies and not around applying those applying what I've learned practically to the world, which is why I say I'm an excellent student. And to this day, I'm a phenomenal student. I'm terrible at life. And no one taught me how to excel at life. They just taught me how to, do enough so I can get good grades or pass tests or be able to BS my way through a 5 paragraph essay, So I will always be someone that's eager to improve. And they even say that if you identify as introverted and turbulent, I think that's what they call the constant improvement personality. Yeah, that's what they describe as constant improvement. And yeah, I mean, what happens is if you tip too far on the scales, you can be someone who's extremely lackadaisical, or someone that just becomes paralyzed by stress and indecision because you're so afraid of failing, and you're so afraid of failing publicly. And I don't want to be like that anymore. So I take pains to go the opposite direction, but it's a work in progress. Um, and I have a couple of strategies to help with that. I'm not going to expound too much on either one because I feel like they deserve their own videos, but I'm going to expound on two sort of frameworks and ideologies. One I got from this article regarding people with depression and whatnot, and unstable self-identity in terms of pursuing rejection. Now, I'm sure some of you have heard of rejection therapy, and there was that guy, that TED Talk guy, that actively sought to be rejected in various random social situations. Um, but I say, in terms of right now, since I'm in a job search and I'm also pitching and submitting writings, that I am actively seeking out rejections. I'd actually like to acquire 100 rejections, and I keep a tab on my Gmail label. It's called dreams, and that's the overall category, and then the label is rejections or application rejections, and I just keep them all there, and I'm trying to rack up 100. So in that way, in seeking rejection, it lowers my expectations a little bit. It lowers my, it allows me to act, basically, because I know that in seeking or searching or applying for things to get rejected, I'm getting closer to my goal. And if nothing else, I am getting closer to my goal of being rejected 100 times. So that's a strategy that I've been using. So I know that the more rejections, the closer I am to getting where I need to be. And I plan on releasing these findings um, in a series of articles, probably on Medium, but then again, I might do videos on them too. Um, so document your struggles is another one, another tip at beating or, going against perfectionism. So document your ups and downs, and don't look at things as a final product. It's think of your writings or your vlogs or your applications or whatever you're doing today as part of your journey. And yeah, document it, take pictures, right? Blog about it for yourself. I think that doing things publicly and the idea that it may be seen helps a little bit with the motivation of that. It's not 100% necessary, but I kind of like it. So sometimes if I'm in a bad mood, I just do some silly picture, with a filter, and then write over it and put it on Snapchat or Instagram because I want to document the journey. And that's a lot of fun for me. Um, so yeah, seek rejection, follow the trail of rejection for rejection's sake, and also because it can possibly lead you to your goal. And you can't get to the goal without the rejection, right? To document your struggle. The third thing is I read a book called How to Be an Imperfectionist. What is this guy's name? I'm going to put it in the bottom link. Oh, jeez. Let me look up his name. Because I'm thinking of another guy that writes kind of self-help type stuff. Why isn't his name on the front? Yes, Stephen Geis or Stephen Geis. And he has a whole book about different ways to kind of beat your perfectionism to become an imperfectionist, because the only thing that is guaranteed in this life is imperfection, is flaws and problems and setbacks. Those are guaranteed. Like, it's funny how we talk about the concept of perfection as if it actually exists somewhere. It doesn't exist anywhere. It really doesn't. Like, you ever think about that? It literally does not exist anywhere in the natural physical world. There's no perfect anything. Even the most beautiful person has two like one eye is a little bigger than the other, one boob's a little bigger than other. One ball and testicle is bigger than the other. Like there's no perfection in this world. So it's weird that perfection is even a word when we've never seen it, because it doesn't exist. So he talks a little bit about, he has a lot of great tactics in the book, and you should really um, check it out, and I'll definitely link it below. But what I love the most about it is the idea of like binary actions. So it's like you succeed if you do the thing. Like there's doing it and then not doing it. You fail if you don't do it, but just by doing it, you succeed. I love that. Um, I also like the act of, he has something called in fighting against a need for approval, which is definitely seen in turbulent personalities. Turbulent personalities want very much to get validation, recognition. And he says to do an act of rebellion every day. So perform an act of rebellion against societal norms or expectations once per day. This alone is so genius. Um, it's freaking genius, because if you think about it, like he gave some examples of like um for example, like I live in New York City, so like of course, like I'm gonna say this and you're gonna be like, oh, that's icky, I would never do that. That's why you're gonna choose something else, but it has to be something that goes against societal norms so that you can get more comfortable with yourself. Okay, because I already hear the people, that's gross, I would never do that. That's why you're gonna do it. Okay. So like I will sit down sometimes if I'm really tired. I was taught never sit down, in a place that you're not supposed to sit down. Like only sit down in a chair. Excuse me. But I'm someone that loves to sit Indian style, cross-legged on rugs, and I do it on floors. If I'm not wearing something particularly nice, um, like a dress or something, just sit down right there. There. You've just made an assertive act. You've just done something where people can talk about you, but it's not going to matter because you have put your comfort first. You've done something out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's something as simple as that, or like singing in public is another example that he cites, um, which I do a lot. I used to do it and then get like really nervous when someone else would come around, but now I do it and I slow fade it. So instead of just shutting up, I keep singing, but slowly make it lower and lower, you know? Because I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to live my funk. This is literally my life. So that's just a little beginning primer to perfectionism and trying to get out of this mold and bettering yourself as a turbulent personality. If there's more you'd like me to expound on, please let me know. I'm gonna link the different things I've spoke of in this video below, and I look forward to hearing your responses if you identify as a turbulent personality, and if you identify as assertive personality, what suggestions would you have for turbulent personalities to become more comfortable in their skin and to congratulate themselves for small wins. I'd love to hear what you have to share, and I will catch you bunnies in the next video. Bye.